I've been working out for like 37 years, and I thought I knew a lot about working out until you meet somebody who is at the top of their game.
Here's what my goal is. Justin comes in, this is a positive experience. I don't care what happens, he leaves here feeling better than he comes in. This is not a shot in the dark. We are taking a joint effort to direct him through the best way we can to make him the absolute best athlete, best person he can possibly be within the realm of himself. He is not competing against anyone but himself.
Boom!
Fire truck carrying the trophy, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray ran over a Denver police officer. 13th and Cherokee, the truck runs over Officer Justin Dodge. Photos capture him standing right next to the truck seconds before he was on the ground.
So as we were driving, it's turning, and as the tire's coming out of the wheel well, I feel it catch my foot. And as it's rolling, I can feel it starting to crush my foot as it's going. And I can feel every injury as it's starting to work its way up. So I can feel it like taking my heel and just crushing it flat. I feel, without getting too graphic, but I'm just gonna do it, I feel as every toe is being pulled off of my foot. And then the big one was, I feel it getting really, really tight, and then almost like you're popping a champagne bottle, I feel a pop, and I could feel my foot actually being ripped off my leg. I'm Justin Dodge. I'm a 27-year veteran with the Denver Police Department. I've spent 19 years assigned to our Metro SWAT unit. People were able to get around the barricades, and it was a frenzy of people wanting to be close to those stars. And this is the first time the Nuggets had ever won this. Just the want to be part of it made it so people were no longer thinking about their own safety or the safety of people on the truck or anything like that.
I was up on a rooftop along Broadway, so I could see down on the parade from where I was at and get a broad view of the main train of the parade coming down Broadway. And I think once that happened, that's when the crowd started coming over the barricades and started engaging with the players, and the players were signing autographs and doing different things like that. So as they made their way down Broadway, it essentially just, they engulfed all the fire trucks, all the Bearcats, and it just became a huge mob rolling down the street with all these different vehicles amongst them. People were getting pushed, and our guys were getting overwhelmed, and that's kind of what started the snowball.
All of a sudden it went into kind of slow motion as this truck catches my foot and starts basically pulling me underneath the tire. I knew, just understanding the body a little bit and having to have been on lots and lots of bad scenes over the past 27 years, I knew how dangerous leg wounds are. I thought to myself, if anything happens to my tib or my fib, then I could be really in danger of not surviving this particular thing here. And I knew if it gets into my knee, like, I have a significant chance of a diminished life or possibly losing my life. And if it gets higher up, if it gets into my hip, there's no chance they're even transporting me. And that's, as an officer, like, you're thinking these things, and I'm thinking survival mode. Like, I need to get to the hospital. We're 7 blocks away from the best hospital in the region. Do everything you can right here, right now, to make it so that you're gonna get there alive. So by trying to get myself positioned to where it hopefully didn't get my knee, and to try to keep as much of those blood vessels intact, I thought I have a chance at surviving this. And so as I'm getting low and trying to put myself in a good spot, officers are now realizing that I'm trapped underneath this. Eventually they were able to get me free and pull me out. It's expected that your guys on your tactical teams, your police officers, your firefighters, your first responders, we're gonna go to the most chaotic scenes on the planet, right? Where everybody's freaking out and losing their minds. And it's our job to try to bring calm to this. Ramp that up even one more notch with me being with our tactical unit. Now we're going to the worst of the worst scenes where there's even more chaos, and we train our guys all of the time to just stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. There's been tens of thousands of hours in my 30 years spent on mitigating situations and making it as safe as possible. And I would say all of that came together in those 3 to 5 seconds as I realized I was the one now in this position.
I was with Justin and we laid him on his back, and immediately a bunch of cops jumped in. We put a tourniquet on his leg. The lower half of his leg was pretty mangled. We slipped that tourniquet on as quickly as we could, and right away, other guys on the team, on the SWAT team, Chris and Juan, they came over and started helping right away. We helped get him on the ATV, and we just took off to the hospital right away.
Obviously, I never hoped to have been in a situation like that, but as far as how I reacted to the situation, it was exactly what I wanted to have had happen, which was I focus on the task at hand. My number one purpose in life is family, is to get home to my wife, is to get home to my kids. Everything I'm doing on a daily basis is to make that happen.
Oh my God, let's talk about where you are. How did PT go yesterday?
PT was amazing.
Yeah.
They actually had me they put some ladder drills up and had me doing some pretty dynamic movement. Things that I never thought I'd be doing at this point. So it was really good. We actually got to almost test the component a little bit to see when I actually get up on my toes and I'm doing things athletically the way you want me doing it, that the component is there for me.
All right, my boy, let's get started.
Okay.
We'll bang this through.
Yep.
Let me know if there's any discomfort.
Okay.
And what I want to do a little bit differently today, the PTPs, we're preparing to perform.
Yep.
We're going to do it with a little bit of motion.
Okay.
But you'll just guide me through it.
Okay.
It was a great cue when you told me last time we did this on the leg extension. You're not worried about the leg coming out, you're worried about the bone coming through.
Right.
It's stuff like that
Yep.
we're going to be aware of.
Right.
All right, my boy, lay back.
I'm Megan Dodge. I am married to Justin for 22 years. We have 3 kids, 4 puppies, a turtle. It's a zoo. It's truly a zoo. I've worked for the Denver Police Department since 1998, and rose through the ranks. Met Justin while I was in the police academy, and then as luck would have it, I was kind of drafted to the same district that he was already an officer in, and rest is history.
Megan, my wife, she's also a police officer. She's actually a chief with the department. I think we've done a very good job of raising resilient kids. The 3 coolest kids on the planet, right? The 3 most frustrated kids on the planet at the same time. So I have a about to turn 22-year-old daughter. She's studying education up at Colorado State. She was obviously my first one, so she was kind of like our little experiment, right? She was the one that we tried to be like, all right, what's working and what's not working. So she's had to endure quite a bit, because us being both police officers, we were young police officers at the time, working swings and crazy hours and literally dropping off Morgan in police parking lots as one's going home and the other one can go stay up instead of getting sleep. But she's endured through all of that and is just bubbly, and you'll meet her today. She's fantastic.
My dad is amazing. I am such a daddy's girl also. He has always been your number one supporter. Like, he's such an incredible guy, and he makes me not want to settle for anything just because of the way that he is with me and my siblings and the way that he is with my mom. Like, he's just the best.
Then I have Peyton, who's the 19-year-old. Peyton, you would think, like, on the outside would be much more of that free spirit, but she is not. She is driven. I mean, like, here we go. We joke often that life for her was going to go one of two ways. She was either going to be the CEO of a major corporation or the leader of a prison gang. It just kind of depended on which road it took, right?
That's funny. I've definitely heard that one before.
She's a college lacrosse player on her way to getting her MBA in business and looking like that. It's that driven kiddo, but still one that likes to go and have fun.
I just have such a big personality. If I want something, I'm gonna get it, but I'm gonna work for it. If I like put my mind to something, I want it. And like, I definitely growing up has been showed to me that nothing is given, it's earned. You gotta put in the hard work, but you're definitely gonna see the results of it. It's definitely a cause and effect. If you want something, you gotta put the hard work into it. So I don't know why they say that, but they do say that a lot.
And then Brody, my son, 17, Megan will claim that she had nothing to, all she did was incubated him, but that none of her DNA went into Brody, that it was a perfect clone with me. Brody is he's a 3-sport athlete, good student.
I love spending time with him, and like even like when I'm with my friends all love him because he's an inspiration. So it's just great being around him. He's like the older cousin that like gives funny advice, but like he's like still the dad. He still like is in charge of all of us. He like does all the dad stuff, but he's like the older cousin that you like look up to and like is like super funny and like you just like want to be more like him.
All of our kids, I think, have seen the two of us be successful in our careers and able to mix family and career and still have fun and go do things. And as crazy as this has been, this family has had some unbelievably cool experiences.
I was at work when it happened, and my sister was at the parade, and we have a family friend who reached out to my sister and I and was like, your dad is so strong, like he's gonna be totally fine. Like, and Peyton and I were like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And so I just immediately knew that something was wrong. And so I'm in Gen Z, of course, so I immediately went to Twitter and found like a clip of like officer has been run over by a fire truck during the parade. And so that's how I found out about it. And it didn't say like my dad's name or anything, but I just like when something like that happens.
I was on my way home from Denver after the parade. We went home and I called Morgan and was like, did you hear about this? And Morgan was like, did I hear about what? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So then she looked it up and she's on the phone with me just bawling her eyes out. Morgan's such an emotional person, which like so valid, but I remember I think I like cried a little bit because I was just in shock, but definitely like didn't cry at all after. I was like, no, you're not seeing me cry. But Morgan was definitely crying. Brody was crying.
We were in survival mode. Like there, literally, I remember being in the hospital that first night, that first week, 2 weeks, I don't even know. And I would look at the clock and think, let's just get through the next 3 minutes. And let's get through the next 5 minutes. And I still remember, I think it was like day 4, and I was like, let's get through the next 15 minutes. Let's get through the next 15 minutes. And by most people, they'd be like, oh my God, that's terrible. And I'm like, we progressed from 3 minutes to 15 minutes, you know? Life was hitting us so hard and so many ups and downs and turns. Like, I can't even describe the collective breath holding when a nurse would walk in the room or the doctor would walk in the room and they would take a look at things, and we would just hold our breaths thinking, what's next? It was truly something we couldn't control. There was nothing controllable about it. It was, we just have to float. We have to float here and just kind of go with the process and go with the flow, which is, we are usually the people that create the flow, not go with the flow.
They scooped me up, threw tourniquets on me, and actually put me in the back of an ATV, but there wasn't really room. So I actually held on to the rails of the ATV as we're going 50 miles an hour the wrong way on Spear with motorcycle bikes clearing the path. Another problem with not being in the ambulance is nobody at Denver Health knows that I'm coming.
There's no communication.
Right.
And it's kind of a last minute deal.
Right.
Which is when I met you and how I met you.
Right. So yes, it gets kind of blurry for me.
Yeah, I bet.
At once they get me through the doors.
Did they give you meds on the? Did you have meds for pain medications?
I didn't have
nothing.
I had nothing until I got
you got
here.
to Denver Health.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because you must have been in so much pain.
It was uncomfortable to say the least.
Uncomfortable. So heavy load on a human. Initially, my thinking was, as our discussion with Megan, we said, let's try and reattach this now. And it was what we call a crush and a degloving injury, which means imagine a glove and the bony content, which is the hand equivalent, is out of the glove. So your skin was empty. We went to the OR straight away. Within 20 minutes, we were up in the operating room.
So real quick, I want to stop you for just a second, because I do remember you asking me, if we get in there, do I have permission to take your leg?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yes.
So we did talk about amputation.
Right.
But it was definitely not a plan A.
Right.
It was a plan B.
Right.
Maybe a plan C.
Yep.
We're in the OR with Chief Resident James Landrum, and we slowly reattached every little piece of your bones together to make it look like a leg. And you've seen the pictures. You've seen the leg. It really looked like a foot and a leg for, I want to say, a whole week. There was hope, right? And then eventually the crush injury caught up, which is very common because there's delay response of the body, and the tissue starts to necrose and die independently of the job that was done. And as you remember, your heel started to turn black. We still were hopeful. We were like, oh, we can still deal with this. And then I think after 12, 13 days, it was dead. We had to cut it off. Key thing is, this is still limb salvage. We're doing an amputation, but we're still wanting to salvage your limb, because an above knee amputation, and you know all about this because you've read everything about it.
If you're a BK, you will be back to work before you know it.
100%.
And you will be jumping out of helicopters, you will be running, sprinting, doing everything you were doing before, you will be doing.
When you see a guy that 2 days after the leg replantation,
I know what you're gonna say.
And you go around, first of all, there's a monster guarding his door when you walk in, and you have to ask permission. Excuse me, do you mind if I walk in? And the guy's like, sure. And you walk in through the door and you see you see weights in the room. And you're like, what is going on here? This guy just had a 75,000-pound truck roll on his leg, and he's asking me if he can do curls to work on his biceps. That's what you were doing every day.
Oh, yeah.
Megan was pissed at you,
She was.
with you.
Right.
Because we haven't talked about the whole saga of you coming here in clinic and asking permission within a week of your amputation when you should chill at home to go back to the gym, to have some drivers driving you around to your gym sessions.
Yes, yes. No less, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, no less than 1,000 people have told me, I'm sorry about your injury, but if anybody can do this, it's you. Which tells me that I was living my life before I got injured in a way that was setting an example.
Yes.
And that people were seeing that, and that purpose-driven life that I was leading was doing something and making an impact on people already. But the negative part of that is when I'm laying face down in my pillow in tears.
Yes.
And I've got 1,000 people behind me saying, Justin can do this.
Failure is not an option.
That's my fuel.
Yes.
To again be better on one than two is it's the expectation that I can do it, and people want to see that story, and then that again just drives more that I want to be able to give back more to the community and to the hospital and to everybody that's been part of this journey with me. Steve's ability to take something that is extremely science-based and then have an art form to it and blend decades of experience along with the science and then make it just for me is like nothing I've ever experienced. Steve has me doing things that I never believed I would have been able to do even if we hadn't met because of the injury. So I'm with him 3 days a week, and when I'm not with him, he has very regimented things for me to do that all goes towards that ultimate goal of June 13th and then way beyond.
How we progress through this, we hit certain things like we're trying to get done. Gets a prosthetic. You got to create a base so it can do low impacting cardiovascular. Before we do any high impacting cardiovascular, we have to make sure it's the upgraded prosthetic because this one will break. If we don't create a strength base of both legs, he's shot. If his neuromuscular system is shut down, the whole body's gonna shut down. He came in, he had been sick for 3 days. He had the stomach flu. So I can tell, this is what I do. I can tell when his energy is off. So I changed what the plan was to facilitate where he was. At the end of the workout, he felt great. The next day, he was shocked because he's like, all it ever is smash. It's not that. What this is a progressive exercise program looking at every aspect of your life. That's how the body works. So whatever we're trying to do in life, we have to slowly upgrade our threshold. Once you exceed it, that's when bad happens. But ultimately, the concept of just killing your body does not work. If you integrate all of the systems and you do it together, you're gonna see so much success.
I was this monstrous SWAT team leader, could do anything. There was nothing physically that I couldn't do. I was there solely for the purpose of saving other people. And it just took me 15 minutes to butt scoot up a flight of stairs. And I sat at the top of the stairs and just cried. I cried longer on the top of the stairs than it did for me to get from the bottom of the stairs to the top.
There was many a times when he was halfway up the stairs and he was exhausted because he hadn't been able to like move around, and me and him would just sit there and we'd both cry, and like it would be so like moving because he was fighting like as hard as he could, and he like wasn't getting the results he wanted.
Growing up, my dad did everything, like just could always do everything, moving us, I don't know, just a very active guy, loved to go play with us, I don't know, all of that stuff, did the dishes, cooked for us, all of that stuff. So watching him just like sit on the couch, I don't know, was definitely like, well, this is weird.
It was just weird to see him not being able to do the things that we're used to. So like my mom said, like not being able to use the bathroom, like when like right when he needs to, and having to like have that extra help, and then the fall risk, like all of those things, like they're scary, like especially because I'm like, I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do to help him. So just, I think the hardest part for me was just watching him go through all of that, and he is putting on a brave face for everybody, but I know like he's hurting.
So the kids, I think we all had a recalibration, so to speak, of is it really important that all the bathrooms in this house got cleaned this week? Nope, it's really not. I think purpose is important. I mean, just in general, purpose is important, and you can just float through the life, or you can be intentional with your life. And I think we've tried to be intentional as best you can. I mean, there's things you can't control, and sometimes you just are floating, but you don't stay floating.
You're such an incredible role model through what you do, but it's not always going to be perfect. But here's the thing about non-perfection, it builds resilience. As long as you don't keep visiting that place, you grow from it, you got a chance. Life is coming through you, not at you. So whatever happens to you, how you push it out, if nothing's happened to you, it's coming through you. 12 weeks, lock it in and save lives, my boy.
Let's do it.
PBS 12 believes in the power of original, local programming. Help us bring more shows, like the one you just watched, by donating at pbs12.org/program support today.